Hello everyone. Thank you for taking out your time to understand what spiritual quotient is and how we can apply it in our daily lives to make them more happy, productive, and fulfilling. In today's world where we are surrounded by all sorts of information and knowledge, I feel it's extremely important to understand, to be able to clearly see how things are in the world that we live in order to live the fulfilling life that we want. You've probably heard of concepts such as intelligence quotient, happiness quotient, and maybe even emotional quotient. But there is yet one more concept which goes beyond our intellectual and emotional skills, and which, although less discussed, is as important as the other quotients, and that is our spiritual quotient. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So first things first, what is emotional quotient? As the name suggests, this quotient aims to look at a person's spirit, that is his vision, understanding and attitude, which are characteristic to only that specific person. Let me elaborate on this. You'd probably agree that each of us has our own thinking, our own way of looking and perceiving the world that we live in. There are things that we like and there are things that we don't like, and there are also things that we like in varying degrees. For example, you might like apples more than I do. So, in essence, when we really think about it, it's actually our tastes and preferences which are defining us and distinguishing us from each other. Now, continuing with the previous example, I might like oranges more than apples, and how that sits with you actually not only depends on what you feel about oranges, but also on how strongly you feel about eating apples. Well, if you've not guessed already, this brings us to the very first subtopic of the day, that is distinguishing or the differences between religion and spirituality. Well, although they are often mistaken to be the same, essentially they're not. I'll try to put it as simply as I can. While religion is a set of common attitudes, beliefs and principles that are based on the teachings of gurus as per their life experiences, and adopted by a set of people who live their lives according to these principles as a service of worship to God or the supernatural. Spirituality, on the other hand, is an inward journey, a journey of self-realization that actually causes a shift in the awareness of your soul. Let's consider A to be an individual or a set of individuals. B is the institution of consisting of the beliefs and principles, and C is the final goal, that is the goal of enlightenment, God, or whatever you believe in. So in religion, first comes B, that is the set of existing principles and attitudes, then A, that is the individual or the set of individuals, and finally they are all heading towards C, that is the common goal of enlightenment, God, or whatever you believe in, right? Spirituality, on the other hand, actually begins with A, that is the individual or set of individuals, and these people, on the basis of their own experiences, form their own beliefs and principles, and that is they go on to B. And finally, even they are all headed towards C, which is the final goal, probably that of enlightenment. The difference between religion and spirituality, as I hope you've understood by now, is essentially in the paths that the religious and spiritual people take, which Robert Frost, a very famous poet, actually said makes all the difference. So how to apply this in daily life? Well, be in acceptance of the difference in these concepts, respect everyone's individual choice, and instead of unnecessarily judging things, just enjoy them the way they are. It's all in the mind after all. Second, the importance of beliefs. Well, it's time now to take a closer look at the concept of beliefs. So beliefs, I hope we can all agree, are simply things that we hold true. So obviously, if you think about it, they can vary from individual to individual, right? So considering that every individual is unique, even though we are all part of a common human race, everybody is entitled to his or her own beliefs, right? So why are beliefs even important, you may ask? Well, I can definitely say that our actions are determined by our beliefs, and this in turn affects the outcome and thereby our lives. But today I'd like to talk about something else. By going back a step further, I'd like us to understand how our beliefs are even formed and how we can rise above them. So what we believe certainly depends on what we think, and what we think essentially is influenced by what we experience. I believe what I can see. That's a very common saying that you have probably heard or probably even believe in. Now, but you must understand that this is the very point where you are most vulnerable to manipulation of, being led into believing something which is false and which may not actually be good for you. This can simply be done by showing something that is actually unfavorable to you, and just because you're seeing it, you'll go on to believe it. So in order to safeguard yourself, it is very important for you to go beyond the obvious. Please do this by questioning as much as possible, so you're able to get a holistic picture of the situation and take a wiser decision. At the same time, it's important to understand and to respect other people's beliefs, because everybody should have the space to believe whatever they want to, and not just for maintaining peace and harmony with others, but also for maintaining the peace and harmony with ourselves. This brings us to the next important subtopic for the day, that is balancing information and emotion. Now it's common understanding that we are all surrounded by all sorts of information, and most of whatever we see or whatever we come across invokes some emotion in us. Whether we realize it or we not, or we don't, therefore we need to be cautious of the information we are consuming for our own mental sanctity. Now we must take care of our mind space as much as we take care of our body in order to stay healthy. Note that it is the quality of our thoughts that not only determines our attitude, our thinking and approach to life, but it also affects our health and therefore our very own life. And of course, it also affects our relationships with others and also ourselves. Now, having said that, I do understand that man is a social animal and we need to interact with others, and therefore we need both information and emotion. So how do we attain the right balance between the two? Now we can actually do this very simply. All we need to do is be aware of the fact that the information around us is not personal to us. Let me repeat. All the information around us is not personal to us. And what I mean by this is that although we are surrounded by all sorts of information, most of it is actually not personally directed to you or personally directly influencing you, and it's probably just an indirect effect that it has on us. So what you can do is you can see it like a story being narrated to you, which you may or not even need to have an opinion on. That's your choice. But if it actually affects you directly, then ask yourself, what can you do about it and how will it really help? Now, raising your spiritual quotient helps you stay calm, clear-headed, not too emotional, and live a life which is more fulfilling because you are more practical, and that is a boon, especially in the challenging lives that we have today. And since most of the information is likely to invoke an emotion in us, it's a good idea to verify the information that we are consuming, and also to be conscious that we are only consuming the information. What we actually feel about it is our choice. Now imagine a world where everyone you come across has a genuine smile on their face. Everyone means well, everyone is happy with their lives, and everyone speaks softly. Probably sounds like an unrealistic dream, right? So let's now discuss about the benefits of applying spiritual quotient in our daily life and really think about it. First, are you doing anything to make the world a better place? Forget the world. What are you doing that is in your hands to make your world a better place? You might have heard the quote by Lord Krishna, अपना कर्म किए जा, फल की चिंता ना कर. Which literally translates into just focus on doing your work and don't worry about the results. This quote, like many others by many different spiritual gurus or religious gurus, serves as a lamp for us on the way of life that we are creating and leaving behind for our future generations to learn from. We may or may not have multiple lives, but let's make the best out of the one that we know for sure that we have now. Let's adopt the practice of mindfulness. Let's be in the moment, that is, be aware and focus on what you are feeling at a particular moment. Now, this would definitely increase your productivity. And this can further be enhanced by developing a habit of gratitude. Now, gratitude not only helps you attract more of what you're grateful for, but it also keeps you motivated and hopeful. And thus you truly start enjoying being alive, and this, according to me, is the best way to live. Live not just to survive, but to be alive. And on this note, I think I will end my discussion today and then leave you to think about all that I've said. Thank you once again for joining in. More power to you.